So you're thinking about pursuing a medical career in the United States, but the process seems so long, you don't know whether it's worth the time, and it just seems so complicated. Hi, I'm Dr. Challa, and I'm an IMG who just matched in internal medicine in the United States. I'm here to break down everything you need to know so you can match successfully in the United States. So these are the different topics we're going to be talking about in this video, and I'm going to leave the timestamps down below just for your convenience. So before we get started, you need to know, what is USMLE? USMLE stands for United States Medical Licensing Exam. It comprises of 3 steps: Step 1, Step 2, and Step 3. Your Step 2 is divided into 2 parts again, that's Step 2 CS and Step 2 CK. Passing these exams are required for you to become licensed to practice in the United States. There's some technicalities that you really don't need to know. It's sponsored by the FSMB, which is the Federation of State Medical Board, and the NBME, which is the National Board of Medical Examiners. Around 12,000 IMGs apply for US residency positions every year, so you're not the only one. Now you're asking yourself, can I write these USMLEs? What are the requirements? Well, obviously if you're an MD or a DO degree from the United States or Canada, you're definitely eligible. How about those people like me who graduated in a different country? Well, there's something called the World Directory of Medical Schools, and if your school is enrolled in this directory, then you're eligible to take your USMLE. However, if you were withdrawn or dismissed from your medical school, you're not eligible to take your USMLEs. Let's start with Step 1. Step 1 is an exam that has 280 multiple choice questions, and the test lasts for 8 hours. These 8 hours are divided into 7 1-hour blocks of 40 questions each, and 1 hour break. Now the passing score out of 280 is 194, and there are a lot of score interpretation guidelines, and I'm going to provide a link for you down below so you get more information on the topic. Now Step 1 tests you on all your basic science principles. It tests you on your anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, microbiology, patho, pharmac, behavioral science. The design of the test is really well balanced. It comprises of a question bank with a lot of questions. 280 random questions are taken from this question pool and are given to you. But because of this, everyone has a different exam. So how do you grade a system when everyone has different questions? Well, this exam is graded off a curve. So different questions have different values, and no one exactly knows how exactly this works, but it's balanced well enough to give an equal and well-deserving score to everybody. I'd say the average time to prepare is anywhere from 6 to 12 months. I know people who've done it faster, and I know people who've done it slower. Everyone has their own speed, and I want to emphasize that this is a marathon, not a sprint. I don't want you to look at that one guy who did it in 3 months and go like, okay, I'm gonna do it in 3 months too. Every person's different, everyone takes their time. Now, how is Step 1 graded? Till date, you're given a numerical score. Based on your score, you can choose your profession, get interviews. It can open so many doors, especially when you're trying to compete in competitive residencies. And therefore, this is the biggest determining factor you'll get for your entire future. However, in January 2022, this whole system is changing, and I'm going to make another video of the exact things you can expect with the change. However, till then, Step 1 will be the biggest determining factor with its numerical score. Now here are a few things you need to know about the USMLE. Once you write your USMLE, you can't write it for 7 whole years. However, if you don't pass, then you can write it 3 months after your initial test date. It does affect your match, as your interviews can see that you've taken a second attempt, but the option is there, and if you need to, you gotta take it. Another thing you need to know is when you apply for USMLEs, you get a 3-month eligibility period, and you have to take your test within these 3 months. If you don't write it within these 3 months, you can extend it by once without having to pay too much extra. I'm not really sure about the price. But if you don't write it within these 6 months, you're gonna have to reapply and pay the entire price. Now the USMLE can be quite expensive to write, so I would be careful before choosing my eligibility period. However, I wouldn't advise you to wait too long or book your eligibility period 2 weeks before you want to write the exam, because you might not get a date, and that can be stressful. Before starting your USMLE process, you need an ECFMG identification number, and you can do this at their website. To apply for that, you will need a copy of your transcripts from your medical school. So make sure you apply for those or have those ready. Let's start with CK. CK stands for Clinical Knowledge, and this is your theoretical exam, just like your Step 1, which consists of approximately 318 multiple choice questions, and it spans 9 hours instead of 8 hours for Step 1. This 9 hours consists of 8 1-hour blocks of 40 questions each, and one 1-hour break in between. Your passing score in Step 2 CK is 209, and this test mainly deals with your next step in management. On average, Step 2 CK takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months to prepare for. Again, some people have done it in less time and some people have taken more. I think while studying for this, you should allot yourself 3 to 6 months as an IMG to prepare for this. Step 2 CS is a little bit different from Step 1 and Step 2 CK, where it's a live clinical encounter exam. Step 2 CS mainly assesses your clinical skills and your bedside manner. Don't worry, this isn't as hard as it seems. You can compare this to a clinical Viva exam in your home country. It can be taken in one of 5 centers in Houston, Atlanta, Philadelphia, LA, and Chicago. Now the results of Step 2 CS takes anywhere from 2 to 4 months to come out. It's not like Step 1 and Step 2 CK where the results come out in 3 to 4 weeks. There's something called a Step 2 CS reporting schedule, and basically this reporting schedule tells you when you're going to get your results based on what day you take your exam. I'm going to provide a link down below so you can check the Step 2 CS reporting schedule and plan accordingly. It is very important for you to book your exam date 6 to 8 months in advance, mainly because there are so many medical students and only 5 exam centers, so it might be hard to get a date. Now let's talk about Step 3. So Step 2 is a computerized exam just like Step 1 and Step 2 CK. It consists of 500 MCQs and it's spread across 2 days. These 2 days don't need to be consecutive. This test assesses your ability to take patient histories, physical examinations, order initial diagnostic tests, initial therapies, and manage the patient. You don't need to finish Step 3 to match in the United States. However, if you're not a US citizen, you might need to write Step 3 for your visa. Now let's talk about USCE. USCE stands for United States Clinical Experience. Now there are 2 types of USCE. You have your hands-on and your hands-off. Your hands-on consists of your clerkships, your electives, and your sub-Is, whereas your hands-off consists of your observerships and research. Now in a program director's mind, the biggest challenge for an IMG is to adapt to the medical system and also communication with American patients. So USCE provides you a chance to prove to these program directors that you've been exposed to the American system and you've encountered patients. This is why hands-on clinical experience is preferred to hands-off, because you are given an active role to communicate with these patients. If you could do more, that's great, but try not to do less than 3. Don't worry, if you cannot get 3, or even if you couldn't get to USCE, it's not the end of the world. One thing I'd like to emphasize, after you graduate, you cannot do any clerkships and some externships. I would try to make sure that you would finish your clerkships and externships before you take your graduation. Let's say you graduated and now you can't do clerkships. It's not the end of the world. Try to do as many observerships and research as you can. It might not be as effective as a clerkship or an externship, but it still shows the program that you are very proactive. People ask me, they're like, I don't have any research, will I be okay? Research isn't really required for residency. However, it is required if you want to get into fellowship. A paper or any research experience does show the program that you're proactive and you like indulging in scholarly activity. Now let's talk about letters of recommendation. You require at least 3 letters of recommendation. It would be very advisable for you to get your letters of recommendations from American faculty. It shows the program again that you've been exposed to the American system. And Americans generally write their letters in a more positive tone. They use a lot of adjectives like stellar, outstanding, excellent, and it just makes you look better. If it is difficult for you to obtain letters of recommendations from American faculty, you can get your letters of recommendations from your existing institutions in your own home country, but USCE is a good place in America to try to get your LORs and impress them. Now let's talk about the match. The match is done by the NRMP, the National Residency Match program. So essentially, you're allowed to submit your application in September of any given year. And by September, you want to make sure that you have everything including your ECFMG certification. You submit your application into a program called ERES. ERAS stands for Electronic Residency Application Services. After you submit your applications, different programs will receive these applications, they'll review them, and if they like you, they're going to extend an invitation to you. Now this is an invitation for you to go and interview at their program. These interviews are conducted from October all the way to the starting of Feb. And by the end of Feb, you submit something called a rank order list. Your rank order list is basically a ranking that you've assigned to all the hospitals that you've interviewed at in the order of your preference. The hospital would also rank the students. And then there's an algorithm that matches you. So on the third week of March, these results are out, and this is known as Match Week. And on Match Week, people get to find out where they've matched into residency. And that's all it takes. Your residency starts in July. Really important note, I know so many perfectionists that want to take an extra year, perfect their resume, but almost every other applicant has some sort of red flag or the other. I highly recommend to apply as soon as you can. Worst case, you don't match and you try next year. I do believe it's better to try and fail than not try at all.